Hello YouTube. Today we're going to be talking about a card from this Oracle deck, the Anubis Oracle. If you see my previous video on this Oracle deck, you know that I highly recommend it, and I think that this Tarot, or Oracle deck rather, I keep saying Tarot, it's an Oracle deck. This Oracle deck is absolutely beautiful. Each one of these cards in this Oracle deck is something that you want to sit and meditate on. So that is sort of what we're going to do right now. We're going to take a card from this Oracle deck and we're going to go over the different symbology that is within this card and see how it applies to everyday life. In the effort of coming up with things to talk about on my channel, I'm looking at some of my tarot cards and I'm looking at some of the decks that I have, and it's like, you can come up with a wide variety of things to talk about. So, why not use this new Oracle deck that I have? Okay, so this, as I said, this Oracle deck is for people who are interested in Egypt, the philosophy behind Egypt, the Kemet. And what you do when you get the card, you meditate on it and you meditate on the meaning of the card. So, this card here is called Sacred Purpose. And it has a lot going on in this card. And one of the things you want to ask yourself right off is, what is your sacred purpose in life? Why are you here? And what is it that you're supposed to do in this life? I'm a musician and a metaphysician, so I do both. I create music, and I am also interested in metaphysics and magic and the craft. So that is my sacred purpose in life. So, what is your sacred purpose in life? Do you know what it is? So, whatever it is, that is what you should be focusing on the most, in my opinion. So when we look at this card, first thing that jumps out at me is the goddess Nut, or Nectar Nut. And you can see her. She is the lady who's bent over, and she has within her the sun and the moon and the stars. So within her is the positive force, the negative force. Within her is energy. Within her is intuition. Within her is the building blocks of all life itself, is stars. Because as that song says, we are stardust, we are golden, We're all made up of that. And she embodies all of that. She is the night sky. Those of you who live in Michigan, if you go up north and if you look at the night sky, you would know how beautiful it is. Living here in the city, you can't really see that. Every now and then, you can kind of get a glimpse of that when you look up, when there's not so much light around, and you'll be surprised at what you see out there, because you're basically looking into space and you're looking back in time too. Some of those stars that, if you take a telescope and if you look at a certain star, it might not even be there now. It might have had a supernova explosion back way back in time or something. You're just getting the light from that star, so it's pretty amazing. You can be here in this time frame and you can kind of look back in time at an event that happened that is no longer happening, but you're able to see the light that happens from that star that may or may not even exist. So it's a pretty amazing thing. But if you take the time and you look out in the night sky, it's hypnotizing. It's a really good way to meditate. Just lying on your back and looking at the night sky, because you're looking at Newt. Okay, and when you look at this card, one of the guys or actually the guy or the dog that you see in the middle here, is Impu or Anubis. Anubis is the cyclopump. He is the guide to the underworld. He is the guide to the other side of existence. He is the great embalmer. He is the one who guides you to the other side. A lot of religions have different nectars or different gods who are guides to the other side. And when you're dealing with Egypt, that would be Anubis or Impu. And it's interesting that he's in between Nuit right here. So he's taking you from the um, the sun and the moon, which is part of our solar system, into something more deeper. That's, like I said, that's my interpretation of this. Now, by Anubis, you have the god Ptah. Ptah represents energy. Ptah is one of the things that sets things off into motion. Ptah is actually a creator god too, but he is also a god who sets things off into motion. He takes energy at rest and he brings it into motion. So, very interesting that they have him on the side, right, resting on the hands of Nuit. And those of you who are familiar with Egyptian mythology, you see Jeb here, and Jeb represents the earth. And that's probably why Jeb is green here. It represents the fertile earth. Now, most of us have been taught that, the earth is our mother, so I mean, it's up to you how you really interpret this. I can also see the earth as being Het Heru, the sacred cow or the fertile Mother Earth. But that's different than the way that the Egyptians or the Kemetic people saw it. That's just my interpretation of it. But if you look here, like I said, Jeb is the Earth here. It's not Mother Earth. It's all, sort of like Father Earth here. And he's resting on the earth, and it looks like he has papyrus that are growing here. Papyrus plants. And on each side here, he has life springing up. You have a tree right here. You have a different plant coming right here. So this is a very, very deep an interesting card. And it's one of those cards you definitely have to sit and meditate on and ask yourself, what does it mean? What does the sun mean to you? Like I said earlier, the sun represents life. It represents us, it represents life because we could not live without the light of the sun. We would be all in darkness all the time. And things would get extremely cold and we would die. So that's not a good thing. So the sun is very important. The moon represents our intuitive self, our psychic self. And that helps us out in our daily lives too. If you have a gut feeling about something, if you know something isn't right and you feel it inside of you, that's the moon. And like I said, the goddess Nuit, embraces all of that. She is the night sky. So that is sort of what I see when I look at this card. It's a very beautiful card from a beautiful oracle deck that I've had for probably maybe like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And I'm currently going through all of the cards. So I do plan on going over more cards in the future. And it really gives you a really good talking point about different things that affect us in our lives, you know. And that is one of the things that I want to do in this channel. And so, what's the benefit? It benefits me because it gives me a deeper understanding of this deck. And you're kind of going along with me and going over the card. So, this is a great thing. Now, I will say that if you look at this card here, you're probably going to see something totally different, which is totally cool because one of the things that you're supposed to do when you get this deck is to meditate on the image and the imagery in the card that you have. So, if you don't have this deck, I highly recommend you getting it. You get it from Amazon. As I said before, this is the Anubis Oracle. Highly recommend it. And the card we went over is the Sacred Purpose card. All right, until next time, love is the law. And as always, peace and Auntie Jocelyn. Sayonara.